Test, test, test. All right, we're live. All right. Bam, ba, bam, bam. We're waiting for our main guest today, but I'm really excited to actually have a really cool guest on and be able to interview him for the page and for, what he has to say, his experience. So we'll wait till he hops on and go from there. Should be shortly. I'll be right back. Oh, hello, Madison. Hello. So we're just waiting for our guest to join. Yeah, buddy. All right. Welcome, Madison. Welcome to the chat. Today's going to be an exciting one. You kind of already know who we're having on, but I'm excited for all my guests to hop on, or, the audience to hop on. Have a good conversation with our guest. Kind of break it down. Shoot the shit. Let's see. So how do I sound? Good. Sweet, 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 honey. So before we get into it, I do want to say if to all the viewers that are going to watch this after it's aired, if you're interested in content where we get to interview different guests with a more formal format instead of me just driving everywhere, please do comment in that video below if you like that type of style. And then on the reels that come out, the little reels that I'll be pushing out, please comment on those, because those are going to be also another form of content to get your juices flowing, to get all the info that was kind of in this interview if you're not so much of a long format type person. And Instagram isn't always the greatest long format, I guess, type deal. Ooh. Do. So we'll wait for him to join in a little bit and we'll get the interview started. So I'm really excited. So if you are interested, though, I did just drop about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, actually, some new merch. I have some holiday merch. Thanksgiving did pass, but we do have some. I think it's Gobble, Lift, and Repeat, or Lift, Gobble, Repeat, and it's a turkey with a squatting. So if you're interested in some goofy merch, we also have Santa doing some chest presses. So if you're interested in that, we'll check it out then. That, and then the other designs that I have, those took a little bit more time. I really put some elbow grease into it. So if you guys want to check it out, see what you like. Right now, the traffic has been a little bit higher than usual, so we might be running a sale soon. I don't really participate in Black Friday sales, so we'll see. So we invited our guest. We're gonna invited our guest. Let's break it down. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get you in here. So if you want to request to join, Mr. Norton, we'll get the interview started. We'll chat it all up.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm gonna switch it to the other side.
No worries. No
There.
worries. How are you? Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming on. I'm actually really excited. So before we get into it, I want to formally introduce you before we kind of start chatting it up. And I do have some questions that I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure the viewers would be interested too. So if I'm not mistaken, you're ranked number 3 in New England right now. Soon to be number 2, I bet. You have 4 wins, 1 loss, 0 draws. You're a pro MMA fighter. You're a flyweight class, and you're about 126 pounds. Absolute animal. That's beast. And you fight out of Ascension. I actually grew up in that area of Bristol, so I've checked out the gym before and whatnot. Jeff is a great dude. He's a good mentor for everybody in the Bristol community. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you got it. Basically it.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm actually really excited to have you on as a guest and kind of start talking with you and stuff. So I know you mentioned that you were doing a promotional gig. So how does that work for MMA when you start, or any, I guess, combat sport, once you start kind of getting into the professional side? Is that like just photography, videography, and getting your reels together and things like that?
Yeah. So it's for me at least, it's like it'll be one of two things. It'll either be the promotion, like during the fight week, they'll like put together like a little thing for you, and then they'll put that out, or they'll like make a highlight of past wins and stuff like that, and they'll put it out that way. Or you get like a more independent thing. One of the guys in our gym is actually a videographer and also a videographer. And he just enjoys doing it, and he's like, hey man, like let's get your name out there more, get something done. And he's done it with me and a few other fighters as well. So stuff like that. Either more personal or with a promotion.
Hell yeah. Yeah, because I was looking through your Instagram and I was like, damn, like that's pretty sick. Like I saw one video where you were like shadow boxing and you had like, almost like a fog machine and the lights, and you're in like an octagon. I was like, damn, that's real deal. It's like this is gonna be Conor McGregor. Hell yeah. So I guess my first question for you, what got you into combat sports? What was that thing that kind of motivated you?
I think it's a mixture of things. But I think initially it was I've always been a person that like take things apart, like kind of break things down, kind of like an analytical mind. And I always in the hobbies and things I did before fighting, that was like my favorite part of it overall. And switching to, hold on one second.
No worries.
I don't want my cat to just attack me. But I always like breaking things down and figuring out how to do things better in a sense.
Okay.
And watching like the depth that comes from combat sports and how far down the rabbit hole you can go with things. Really kind of just like pulled me in like a black hole.
Yeah, definitely. That's sick. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I boxed for 4 years when I was in middle school, so I definitely understand that. It's very like a lot of people think, oh no, you fight like MMA fighters or wrestlers, and it's like they're just grabbing, and I'm like, no, it's technical, like it's biomechanics at the end of the day, like it can, especially when you get into like jujitsu, especially. I've dabbled in jujitsu a little bit, taken a few classes here and there, and it's
Mm.
complicated. And those like when you start getting technical, people, it's almost like Twister. You're pretzeling, and it's interesting. It's definitely cool. So it's cool that you're on the more technical side, because a lot of people have this misnomer that it's just bashing brains in, which I mean,
Yeah.
some to extent, I'm guessing, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's for me, I've always kind of viewed it as like a yin and yang type of
mhm,
like a feel where it's like too
definitely.
much of one. Like if you're too all fight, like I'm just gonna bite down on an mouthpiece and throw, and that's bad. And then
Yeah.
being too technical is also bad.
Yeah,
It's the fighters that can mix it the most are usually the most successful.
definitely.
Um,
For sure.
but yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Where'd you grow up specifically?
So
In Bristol, right?
in Bristol, yeah, I grew up in Bristol. I grew up in Hull Street. I grew up all over Bristol. We kind of moved around as I got, um, through the age and stuff. I worked at the Walgreens that just shut down on
Oh,
the corner over there, yeah, for years when I was in
yeah.
high school and stuff. So I've always
What
been
what
kind
year
of
you
that.
graduated?
What? I'm sorry.
What year did you graduate high school? I wonder how close we are.
2017.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in Perryville, but
Okay.
I spent most of my time in Bristol because all my friends lived there.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah. That's what's up. It's great to have people, because Bristol is such a diverse city in kind of where we're at in Connecticut. So it's really cool to
hmm
like see somebody coming up in that professional like uh, aspect of sports and stuff like that. We had a few NFL players. I won't say any names, but we had a few NFL players, um, and it's cool to see that somebody who's like very honorable kind of taking up the mantle in an awesome sport. I don't know. I love combat sports over the traditional
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was something else that pulled me towards combat sports as well as like team sports have never really made sense to me.
Hmm.
Like no matter how hard
Yeah.
I do, how hard I play, and how good I do, if the team sucks, then I
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
Or that's the feeling that it always gave to me.
Hmm.
Jujitsu and wrestling and
Hmm.
boxing, it's team individual. You still get that team feel
Yeah.
because you need the people around you to like get you there, but
Hmm.
it's really all just on you at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
I like that much more.
Yeah. I've noticed too, like when I was boxing and stuff, that like now team sports help you, I guess, teamwork wise, obviously, but like I feel like boxing and any combat sport, you really have to like go through a lot of mental barriers,
Yeah,
and it builds up self-esteem in a real aspect, a
yeah,
lot of times. So I feel like that it translates well into, regular life. If you look at like even Mike Tyson, which is probably one of the most like well-known boxers of, I guess, our
mm,
era. He's very philosophical now, very like wise, and it probably came along from coming from, where he came from initially and going through combat sports, life experiences, the wealth, and then going to jail and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely.
yeah. It's definitely you know the his one of his ex coaches, what's his name? Teddy Atlas. He
Hmm.
he calls the ring the chamber of truth,
Yeah.
and it really kind of speaks to what pushing yourself, because combat sports in general, like kitty corners you.
Hmm.
There's no excuse other than it's all on you.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you fail, it's you that failed. That's it.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and it's the way you prepare yourself from 6 weeks out.
Hmm.
If your diet is bad, you're not doing enough cardio. Those things get to be
Hmm.
shown in the Chamber of Truth, and that's
Definitely.
something that's a lot really hard for people to like get in a team sense. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, their first day of boxing and
Hmm.
kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, they get that like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is hard for me
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
so
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely interesting, but your perspective is really cool, because I feel like not a lot of people discuss this side of martial arts. Again, going back to it, people will even discuss technicalities, but even like big name podcasts or big name like commentators, they don't really get into kind of the philosophical side that like, you know, and a good coach. that's not talked about a lot either, is a good coach will kind of talk to you about your blind sides. Like if they see you're struggling and grappling, especially with MMA, because you have so many different principles you have to tie together. If a good coach will see where you're struggling and build that up, at least to get
Yeah,
you defensive enough to be able to work with it. Um,
yeah. There's so many different avenues of losing, and
yeah.
that's another great thing that's so exciting about
Mhm.
combat sports is, in football there's only one way. There's really only one way to win, and
Yeah.
that's to score as many points. So, I mean, I know there's variabilities to get to those scoring
Yeah.
of points, but there's so many ways to lose in MMA.
Definitely.
There's so many different avenues that can happen on just the losing side, not even
Definitely.
getting to the losing part.
Definitely.
And so many ways to win too. So it gives that excitement that people don't know what's gonna happen from
Mhm.
1 minute to the next minute. So
Yeah.
um,
Definitely.
yeah, and it's fucking great.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, so I have another question for you. So being now a professional fighter, what
Mm-hmm.
does a typical day of training look like? Do you have like a dietitian now? Like, is it super regimented, or are you still kind of free to kind of experiment with your flow?
I have a pretty flexible schedule because
Okay.
you know fighting is fighting is my main source of income,
Yeah,
as well as teaching.
definitely.
So other than the classes that I have to teach on those certain days, I'm pretty free to schedule workouts in any way I want.
Hmm.
But I generally stick to 2 day workouts roughly,
Hmm.
sometimes three if my body feels good.
Hell yeah.
A lot of fighting is kind of about managing injuries and not avoiding them as much
Yeah.
anymore. Because the sport's designed to hurt people and
Yeah.
hurt bodies. It happens, of course. So it's a lot of play by ear
Yeah.
for me personally, and listening to my body more.
Definitely.
That's a great thing that I've learned as getting older, listening to my body more. Um, but a normal day, I usually wake up 7, 8 o'clock, have breakfast, which is generally protein based because I need
Gotcha.
to
Yeah.
um, go through the day that way. Around 12 o'clock, I'll have a little bit of a snack, generally a carb that I can burn up quickly for my first workout, which is around like 1 o'clock. And
Okay.
then 6 o'clock, I'm either teaching or training. And then from 6 o'clock to about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm done for the day.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
but I'll get an extra workout in if again my body feels good
Yeah.
earlier in the morning.
Yeah.
And then a lot of my time I spend not working out. I'm also studying techniques, studying my own film, studying my opponent's film, stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I guess when you like get, because I know like I have friends who are bodybuilders, a totally different sport, but
mhm.
they have like their off season where they're just kind of training, and then once they go into in season, like usually depending, 16 weeks out is kind of a longer time frame, but they'll start getting super strict and cutting down. Is that kind of how it is for you with like dropping weight or gaining weight kind of thing, or is it
Yeah.
still again
So
by your?
it's a little it's not 16 weeks. 16 weeks is way too far out.
Yeah.
But, most it's either in camp or out of camp for me.
Okay.
And that's really kind of in camp. The real difference between the two is just really having focused training to the task at hand or the problem at hand.
Okay.
So if I'm going against somebody who has a very interesting style, or maybe they throw or have a really uh, good setup that they like to use to
Hmm.
land whatever they need to land, then a lot of the camp will be how to nullify his strengths enough for me to implement my game.
Got
Whereas when
got
I'm with camp, it's more generalized training
it.
to build my overall skill. So that could be either working on areas that I'm not good in, or working in areas that we feel like the sport isn't good in, so that
Got
I
it.
can exploit those weaknesses as they
Mhm.
go. Or it could be an area that I'm straight up bad in, or so it's just to kind of plug the holes in the ship a little bit more
Got
and
it.
do some key type of stuff. And
Definitely.
then as well, I cut weight, and th- that sucks.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, even I don't know, from my perspective, even working out, just trying to like eat a little bit less and just do more cardio sucks. I can imagine having to do like the sauna and like, you know, I remember wrestlers in high school, they would put like duct tape trash bags to their body and just like sit
Yeah.
in like the sauna for hours just to try to lose the water weight before, a tournament or whatever. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yep.
definitely.
It's not fun. Working out the steam amount and having less calories is
Yeah,
never easy.
yeah, definitely. I can imagine. So everybody always talks about like the heavyweight side of the sport, you know, upper weight class. But
Yep.
I've heard that the lower weight class are where like the real pit bulls are, the real guys who are just feisty as hell. Because again,
Yep.
from the conditioning, drop in weight and stuff, but then the cardio aspect, I can only imagine how fast and agile you have to be at that,
Yep.
to be effective at that weight range. Is that pretty
Yep.
accurate that they're very tenacious?
Yeah, so this is something I talk about a lot with my training partners and friends and stuff like that. And I think it's a development issue for
Mhm.
heavyweights
Definitely.
personally, because what happens a lot, at least in my opinion, and when I teach people as well, I've noticed this, is that people that have like that devastating like power
Okay.
in every shot, they often it's harder for them to get over that learning curve of being really good at striking
Mhm.
because that knockout power, they don't need to learn how to throw a really good punch when
Yeah.
every punch can knock somebody out. So they're
Yeah.
like, there's no point.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas you get lower down the weight classes, you'll see a bump up in skill, speed, the ability to
Definitely.
scramble and wrestling exchanges. And that is also paired with cardio because you need cardio to have speed and scrambliness and lots of combinations. You'll see more in the lower weight classes. So
Definitely.
that as you go down, because of those the different attributes that a smaller body can give, we try and enhance those as much as possible. So that'll be better technique, better
Yeah.
cardio,
For
things
sure.
like that.
For sure. For sure.
I'm
And
trying to use every ounce of my body where they only have to use 80% of
yeah,
their body.
definitely. Definitely. And again, going back to the mindset, like trying to find every little advantage that you can get humanly within yourself, within the sport,
Mm-hmm.
within technique and, physicality. Because like, so
Yep.
we were doing boxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu in my deployment to Africa, and one of our other members there, he was a ex Army Ranger. He was a sapper. He was like just this like 250, just a Hulk, like an ox.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like we were doing kicking drills, and I'm about 180, so I'm not like super heavy, but I'm not super light either. And I remember holding that pad up, and he was going boom, boom, and he like we asked him like are you going light? He's like, yeah, this is me going like pretty light. So I can only imagine like and he did Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a long time, so he was really good at it. I rolled with him a lot, and he was just a
Yeah.
technical beast too. But I can imagine that same kind of thing, just wanting to be an ox and a bull in a china shop, and then
Yep.
you that one punch, that one grapple or whatever, and you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I've met a bunch of people that they're not. I'm not saying they're not fantastic and technical
Yeah,
fighters, but you can see it at the highest level. Somebody like Derek Lewis at the highest level is
yeah,
everybody's scared of his power,
yeah,
so he can knock you out with anything.
yeah,
So why just look more than that if he's already at the highest level, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so,
definitely.
but yeah,
Oh yeah.
good
So
times.
yeah. So who would you recommend now that you're pursuing your career here? Who would you recommend? What sort of person would you recommend to pursue MMA? What characteristics?
God, whew, that's a tough
Sorry.
question. No, it's a good question. Something that is like and I'm sure you felt this when you were when you did Muay Thai and
Mhm.
kickboxing and stuff. Is like it can appeal to such a wide range of people for so many different reasons, and like you'll get that guy who's a bull in a china shop, and he just wants to be aggressive, and that's
Yeah.
great for him. And then you'll have a person who's more of an athlete, right? He's just really like buckled down and loves the fact that he can get a great workout in and
Mhm.
do something that's stimulating at least a little
Yeah.
bit to the mind.
Definitely.
And then you'll also get like the more artist side where they really just love the art of jiu-jitsu or
Mhm.
the art of fighting, where they really
Gotcha.
get deep into it. So it's tough to say like nail down that, but all of them across the board have are generally disciplined,
Definitely.
um, and have a non-care for damage to their bodies. And probably the other thing is just like like a mental strength and having that mindset of like, okay, there's a problem in front of me. I need to overcome that problem, whether it's being aggressive, being an artist, or being more of an athlete overall.
Definitely. Cool, cool. Definitely. That's a really good answer. I like that because you're answering to all the different kinds of minds that are going to come into these kinds of sports and stuff, which is good because again, different arts, different reasons why you come in. Some people, like you said,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and the other beautiful thing about it is that you get to see how that person's style is
Mhm.
overall. Like martial arts is really an art at the end of the day,
Yeah,
and each person's like, I don't know, I guess projection of how they fight is kind of a representation of how they think and feel and
definitely,
why they're fighting. It's kind of
definitely,
cool.
definitely. So you mentioned teaching. Have
Hmm.
you, with any of your students, any classes that you teached, excuse me, have you noticed that breakthrough moment where like they're struggling with a technique or they're struggling with something, and then all of a sudden something the wires cross and they're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I get it done, and then they just like almost
Yep.
like it just clicks perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I get that a lot with people, and it's interesting, like going up through like the school system, and
Hmm.
and then I had taught skateboarding previously, and then
Okay,
I wanted to get good at fighting. I started teaching for fighting too,
definitely.
and across the board, I noticed that it's such a like a dual pairing,
Hmm.
or it's like a symbiotic relationship where the way I'm teaching and the way he's listening or taking it, maybe I have to change it, and maybe he has to change the way he's responding or thinking
Yeah,
about it. Once
definitely.
we hit that stride, I'm on it, and then you keep hammering down that same way to how he understands. So I'm going to teach the way that he understands.
Definitely.
And I've learned that from personal experience with teachers. With me, some teachers just don't come off well with me,
Hmm.
or I
Definitely.
don't understand the way that they do things, and then we'll have a conversation or two about it. I'm like, oh, I get it now,
Yeah.
and then so
Hell yeah.
oh
Yeah, that principle that you just mentioned about like teaching people based on how they're going to learn and kind of hammering once you find out, hammering that in. I feel like I
mhm,
know people who've gotten master degrees to try to
mhm,
learn that. And the fact that you're, just beginning your career and already picking that up with your students and within your craft is really exceptional. So I know that you're kind of
thank
extra
you.
aware, I can see that
Yeah,
you actually genuinely care about your students, genuinely care about the art, genuinely care about what you're doing. So that's actually really, really cool
yeah,
because actually I'm down in down south for some training for a leadership course, and we've kind of dabbled in that kind of learning styles and communication styles, kind of the same
mhm.
thing. And the fact that we're going through a formal school to teach that, but you pick that up on your own, that's brilliant, dude.
Oh, thank you. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome.
I learn as well from like watching my Jeff teach as
Yeah,
well, and
definitely.
um, I watch a lot of instructionals on
Mhm.
just MMA technique
Yeah,
and seeing how people can respond to that stuff like that, and also my own experience of going through the school system and being taught in different ways. So,
definitely.
um, but yeah, the most important thing when I'm trying to teach is just if you can understand it, then you can learn it on your own. But if you
Yeah,
can't
that's true.
understand, whatever. And if you got to understand by watching or feeling or
Yeah,
both, or
yeah,
metaphors, then what you got to do, whatever you got to do.
yeah. That's true. That's true. There's only so many penguins on the iceberg, so you got to find a way to, you know,
Hmm.
burn it into the brain.
Yep.
Um, so I have a few more questions for you.
Mm.
So this one's another loaded one. So in about 5 years from now, where do you see your career going, and where do you want your career to kind of go?
I would love to be in the UFC
Yeah.
within 5 years, or
Hell yeah.
ONE FC. That would be. I'm open to ONE FC as well.
Hell yeah.
Um, I'd also like to be way more self-sufficient and self-sustained money-wise and in other amenities like food. stuff like that. So I just trying to like streamline my life overall.
Yeah, definitely.
Financially, physically with that and my course career as well.
Definitely.
And I'd like to retire around 35.
Hell yeah.
It's kind of like the hard limit for me,
Yeah.
because that's generally the athletic prime of men,
Yeah.
and I don't want to, what do they say it all the time as you either retire from the sport or the sport retires you.
Yeah.
And I'd rather go from the sport and still have a good, healthy mind while older.
Hell yeah, definitely. Those are some great goals. I really like that. I really like that you, a lot of people don't know. I've seen this on the military side a little bit. Is like they're afraid to let go when that's all they've known and that's all that their purpose is. So you being aware enough to be like, okay, once I've had my fun, once I've achieved what I want, I'm ready. I'm gonna set back and pivot into a different perspective. That's really cool that you're trying to gear for that.
Yeah, it's I also do like mindset training a lot, and like on more the psychological side, and that's something that we've talked about because we do group sessions and private sessions. And we talk a lot about not trying to attach your identity to the fact that you're a fighter, because then when you can't fight anymore, then who am I? Like, I'm
exactly.
Just a person again. But so just trying to not put all your eggs in one basket and kind of spread them out more.
Well said. Well said. So sorry that I'm jumping around to different types of questions, but do you ever see yourself fighting in a heavier weight class, like a way heavier, like trying to, bulk up a lot, or like bantamweight, like drop down really crazy?
So that's a good question. I definitely wouldn't bulk up crazy. I'm at 25 right now, and I walk around. If I'm not watching my food at all, I walk around like 155.
Okay.
So it's like about a 20 to 25 pound cut. But I'd probably go up to 35 only if I was forced to body wise. I'm just about getting to the end of men growing. I'm 26 now. But if I get to the point where it's like truly detrimental and it just doesn't seem feasible to make 25 anymore, then I'd have to bulk up so that I can cut down to 35.
Got you.
But I'd prefer to stay at 25 because I'm very tall and very long for 25. So if I can hold that advantage, I'd rather keep that advantage.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. So I have some matchups for you. All right.
Okay.
So in your mind, how would you see this going in a modern day? Like, I'm trying to think because they're all from different, I guess, styles or whatever. Two of them are kind of goofy. One of them I feel like is pretty serious. So Mike Tyson versus John Jones, like a bare knuckle. I want.
Hold on, I lost you. One sec, I can't hear you, brother. Can you hear me? Oh, now I can.
Sorry about that.
I got you.
All right. So Mike Tyson versus John Jones, bare knuckle. If I said street fight, it's John Jones. He's an MMA fighter. Let's just say bare knuckle boxing.
Okay. I'd probably say, and this is Mike Tyson in his prime, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Mike Tyson in his prime. I'll have to give it to Tyson. Yeah, giving it to Tyson. Mike Tyson is. It's just he's too. It's a thing with anything really. Like I would never expect to beat an NBA player in basketball, or a better reference would be like an NCAA All-American wrestling champion. Like I'm probably not going to beat him in a straight wrestling.
Definitely.
So and that respect to the craft and the time that's given to be a heavyweight boxing champion, that I got to give that credit. But there's always a chance,
Yeah.
you know. There's
Yeah.
in any time when hands are flying, there's always a chance at any moment. So it's definitely not absolute zero. I wouldn't even say it's. I'd probably say it's like 20% chance that John wins. But I'd pretty heavily on. I'd bet the money on Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Mike Tyson is up there for me when it comes to fighting and stuff. But a lot of, I mean, John Jones just won the heavyweight championship recently, and I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of stuff, and I think he's kind of the modern day Mike Tyson, but I don't think he's hit his prime yet. I feel like he's still climbing, climbing the mountain.
Yeah. I'm also curious, to see how he handles future challenges at heavyweight.
Yeah.
So, he seems to be doing it the right way by bulking up the correct way to do it and everything. Yeah. And obviously super intelligent and everything. So he's definitely got more time to go.
Definitely. So this one's really goofy. Logan Paul versus Jake Paul boxing match or MMA match.
One of them's a wrestler, right? I don't know which one. I don't really follow him that much, but I know one of them's a wrestler. Whoever is the better wrestler is the one who wins. I don't know though.
I think it might be Logan Paul. I think but he does like WWE, so it's
okay.
It's
I don't know. No idea.
And then the last one, Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
In Jiu-Jitsu, I would say, well, I mean, Elon Musk is definitely bigger. I think significantly bigger than Mark Zuckerberg. But I also watched the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon, where he said he doesn't even feel like he'd have to train. So, and I hear that Mark Zuckerberg is like obsessed with training. So, I'd probably. How long is the training time before the fight? That's the real question.
Let's give them. I want to be fair because it would be both their first kind of, I guess, professional type fight. Like 6 months or so. They'd have 6 months to train up.
And if I'd have to give it to, if they're both training equally, I'm going to give it to Elon Musk. If it sounds like Elon's kind of slacking on his training, I'll give it to Zuckerberg.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like Zuckerberg has an advantage, but at the same time, Elon Musk, like you were saying earlier in the interview, Elon Musk is like very technical minded. I mean, he's built all these businesses and crazy inventions that are like almost science fiction to figure out problem solving like that. So I feel like that's a lethal kind of mind if you were to put that in combat sports.
I would love to see how he learns techniques and how he connects dots in combat sports world. It would be cool to see that part of his brain.
Yeah, definitely. So I have one more question for you. So if you could make any impact, if you could say one thing to maybe it's a younger version of yourself, to the next generation, to your students, and have an impact, what would it be?
I think I would, if I was talking to myself and had a time machine and went back, I would try and convince myself that I'm the guy. I think for me, a lot of my time, like growing up, and even in competition when I did well and when I didn't do well, it was always just a non-confidence and belief that I'm like the number one character in the story, and that almost like an imposter syndrome. Like I kept winning, I kept doing good, but I'm like, I'm just not this next guy, or I'm just not this guy.
Understand that, yeah.
So I think I would try and convince myself that I'm, or at least show the facts to my old self that I am the guy. I'm the man on the pedestal right now. So. And I think that was a really transformative experience for me when I figured that out. That I had a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Hell yeah, definitely. Awesome, another awesome answer. Very, you're very. It's layered, I like this was a good interview, man. So I appreciate your time, Casey. Hopefully, I'm working on doing an in-person podcast at some point with one of my friends and stuff like that. We want to do an in-person type thing. So hopefully. It's in Connecticut Near it's in near Bristol. I don't know what town we'll be doing it in, but New Britain, Bristol area. So I'll keep you updated, man, if you're interested to come down and do another
100%.
interview.
It's been great.
Hell yeah. Again, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.